I don't know what the life expectancy is on that with our water.
She went, really?
Mine,
I said,
I changed mine in '06. I
so,
still got the same home. And I changed the boiler in
Right.
'06 too.
oh, yeah.
Well, I put one on it, and it was only on about a year.
I would love one, but.
And we bought, had to get a new furnace
And
because
she was out
heat
practicing
chamber
in the
started leaking.
driveway until it got so cold.
Yeah.
And it came with a brand new one that was the same.
She was so, she sent,
This is one I
she
just
sent us
put
a
on.
thank you.
7 o'clock.
And she drew
Alright,
the
7
basket.
o'clock, call the meeting to order.
Thank you so much, I love it.
Please all rise for pledge allegiance. Pledge
Pledge
allegiance
allegiance
to the
the
flag
flag
of the United States of America
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call is on. Need a motion to approve the agenda.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
Been moved and seconded to approve the agenda. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any abstentions or nays? You'll have to excuse me too, I forgot my reading glasses, so if I skip something. Looks like police report first.
Copy of the report is in your packet. There was 14 total calls for the village.
Fire report.
Well, for December, we had 29 calls, 2 in the village. We had a medical on Barrow Street, and a CO2 alarm, and
Deer Ridge Run.
thank you, D Ridge. So we ended out 2023 with 389 total calls for township and village. We're just down 27 runs from 22.
Thank you.
Thank you. County Commissioner. Planning Commission.
No meeting, canceled it. Nothing on the agenda.
Okay. DDA, there was no meeting. Attorney report, you're probably everything down below, right? Council communications.
I don't believe I have anything.
I need a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I'll second.
Been moved and seconded to approve the consent agenda. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? One abstention. Public time then.
So I have a question, and that is, why are there snowmobile tracks all over the park? Yesterday and today. Any ideas?
Because they were there about 10:30 last night. How do you stop them at night?
Did you call the police and the police report it and see if maybe they can catch them when they're going or leaving?
There's no chance in hell, I'm sorry.
No, there is. I wouldn't say that. And again, some of you live much closer to that park, and you hear it. I would have heard that even over my furnace if I lived right there. So somebody's got to stop this.
When they left there, they went up the side of the road.
Yeah. Well, see, that's why if you call the police and if they're in the area, it's at least worth a shot, right? You can call
Well, and
non-emergency.
Be honest with you, of course, I didn't start your time yet because we're all talking. But they might have been the same two that passed me heading out Dryden Road. And they were gone so fast, I lost sight of them. If I would have called, I wouldn't have known which way they went.
Well,
You know?
it's still worth calling though, right? I mean, I've been chided by the police for
They-
not calling, so.
If you ever listen to a scanner, it seems like they're busy enough sometimes.
Yeah, but it doesn't hurt to call it in, all right? Because they prioritize for you. It's not like you're just saying, hey, leave this very important call. But if they're in the area, then they might be able to see it. It also puts it on record that they were there, right? And I got some photos that I went and took today, and they didn't turn out very well because my printer didn't do a good job with it. But you can kind of get the idea. You've got this sledding hill where kids sled, and on the other side, you've got people driving snowmobiles. And last night they were there at 10:30. They were there in the daytime, I'm guessing, yesterday, because that's where I saw tracks. Maybe they were there at night. But also, we still don't have a sign out there saying this is a park. And I mean, as of just a few months ago, I still have had police officers telling me that that is private property, right? And so for a lot of people here who spread misinformation around the village, because they want to keep driving vehicles wherever they want, they still don't know that it's a park. So that is, again, these didn't turn out very well, but all kinds of kids are out there sledding. That's exactly what should happen in a park, right? You can see the tracks from that. But then you see how fast these folks were driving in there, right? The police, when they get a minute, they could also walk around and see where those tracks go. And again, this didn't turn out super well, but they went right up to that sledding hill. What if there were kids out sledding at night? I used to sled at night when I was a kid. On private property, but I did. And then if you go out there by the wells, you'll see tons of tracks right by our wells. And those wells are not protected. They've got a few stakes up there, but they're not protected, and that's our infrastructure. And also, you've got all those poles out there in that field. That's why you need to get some signs up, and you need to say, this is what we allow or don't allow in a park. And I think that should really be a high priority. The Veterans Memorial. You brought this up a long time ago. I didn't even know we had one in our village here. That's at like the edge of a parking lot. I feel like that's really disrespectful. And I say that as, you know, the daughter of a veteran and the granddaughter of veterans. Like that, we can't do better than that here. We have park areas where that could be more on display. I mean, it's right there. It's not going to be that hard to put it on display.
Can I just ask, was that put in before the private parking lot over there was and stuff? Was there like a little green area over there? I mean, because it does seem like an odd place, which makes me think they didn't put that in after the
I'll
private.
tell you what happened. The church had it
Right.
reserved, and they didn't want it there
The church
anymore.
up here?
Yeah.
They didn't want it anymore.
Pastor at the time, and we didn't know where to really put it, and I said, why don't we try to set it up down there? That's what happened there.
Right.
It's nothing that we planned or bought or spent money on. It was,
But she brought this up a while ago, and like, why can't we fix that?
I'll look into
Is there another place we could move it?
I mean, maybe once the park gets up
Maybe
and
once
going,
the
I was
park
thinking put it
gets
up there by the
developed,
pavilion,
yeah.
and once we get the pavilion up there, I was thinking that, but.
What until you get that? What about out here on the side? Could we move it out there? Well, the town hall? Or is that only on like along the very?
Very
actually,
small strip.
Karen's got the floor.
All right, so
sorry.
one more thing, and then I'll save the rest for my next public time later. Metamora Michigan Gang, I've been paying more attention to that group. Again, Tina is an admin of this group, and has done her job inside that group in the authority of her office multiple times, but is still an admin of that group. And this week a post came up that I found kind of concerning. And the guy says it was intended as a joke, but I don't ever think this kind of thing is funny. Man, what is it with kids these days? Were we that stupid when we were younger? Starting a new service, anyone's kids that are getting out of control. I have boxing gloves and headgear, $5 for 3 minutes in the ring, parent versus kid, additional rounds, $250. I will ref the whole match. Maybe this will knock some sense into them. Edit, this is just a joke, please no one get offended. It was meant to put a smile on everyone's face. That being said, LOL. And then in the comments, all kinds of comments about, yeah, we should, stop having people's court and just have people beat each other up, and lots of people saying they wish they could hit their kids. Like, this is crime. This is a crime they're telling about, and I really don't ever think it's funny because I've seen the result of these crimes. So maybe we rethink of being an admin of that group. And then also I noticed this, again, I have access through a friend's account. I didn't have access to when the snow all fell and people were sharing what roads are blocked and not blocked. I don't have access to this information, and that's the only group where I've ever seen it shared, right? And apparently Tina is fine blocking people from a group that has all the safety information where people are saying this road has trees across it, and just don't even go down there, it's too dangerous right now. And I think that's something I would rethink if I were a government official. Thank you.
Roadside park bathroom still on hold.
Nothing there.
Water main extension. Here we go.
I gave you a letter, I don't expect you to absorb all that, because we're waiting to get some answers back from the engineer and our water administrator in terms of the proposed amended agreement has some language in it where they wanted to say, you have X number of hours to fix certain things in your water system if something goes bad. And we need to get a better sense from the engineer and the water administrator, what's a reasonable amount of time for us to get things. Their remedy was, if you don't get it fixed within 24 hours, we get to come in and do our own fixes. I don't see ever recommending that. I mean, you literally have someone who's not involved with your system going in there and unilaterally.
The only way I would say is if somebody from F and B was right there babysitting the
Yeah,
whole
I mean,
time.
the bottom line is, we're not letting unsupervised access to our system. We have too much responsibility over that
You
system.
don't like our, go look somewhere else?
We,
I don't see that.
our attitude, everybody has been, we're gonna protect the village completely, you know, and that's,
That's right.
we're trying to be helpful.
There are a couple issues that are flowing, some more technical issues which we need their input on. For example, it sounds inconsistent, but at one place they say we need a pressure reducer valve to reduce the pressure because it's too much at the beginning, and then later on in the system they're talking about we're saying you really need it. That, you know,
Booster
they do
pump.
need a booster pump. It's probably consistent just because the location of where they're talking about. Because at the beginning it's obviously closer to the water pump. The place where they're talking about a booster is over Hill and Dale, way back in the Tulies, where it's been in the pipeline a long time, and I don't doubt maybe it needs
Yeah, that makes more
a
sense.
booster. That makes sense. So, but I want, some of this stuff is just straight engineering and water administrator stuff that we need their guidance from. I'm not gonna go at length into some of our analysis about why we did get the updated water reliability study back, and Roe did have a chance to review their, what they said, what the settling group said about their engineering analysis of their system and water pressure and things like that, and how long water would be in the pipes. I'm just gonna let you look at my letter, because it's very detailed in terms of, we do not have a level of confidence with the settling group's analysis of how much water they say will be going through that pipe.
And do they think they're getting fire hydrants?
No. So the problem here is they're assuming a lot higher flow of water through their system than we really think. If you believe their analysis, there are 28 houses out there require the same level of water that 83% of our water meters would inside the village. We have 247 water meters inside of our village, and if you believe their analysis, those 28 homes are going to generate the same as 83% or 205 out of our 247 water meters. I don't see that as, and Roe's analysis was they do not believe that is an accurate estimate.
And I think by state code and everything, they have to put a fire hydrant in every so many feet.
Well, they may have to. I really
That's
don't know
part,
what.
you know, that's where they're gonna, that'll be the next stumbling block when they get ready to get some other permit, you know.
I don't doubt that there might be some more water than a typical village home out there, but they also probably have snowbirds out there too. People who are going to Florida, who aren't gonna be generating much water usage at all when they're out of town, so.
I know a couple of them personally, you know.
It is one of the reasons that I am not backing off from our recommendation that the connection fee should be $500,000. I believe that there is an extra layer of exposure for the village, and that we need a financial cushion to address that. And I'm not backing off from my recommendation.
It's basically insurance policy anyway, isn't it?
And we were talking her up this morning, this is gonna be largely an empty shell corporation. It's not gonna have a lot of assets other than a water system that's probably more of a liability than an asset. So yes, they're required to obtain liability insurance, but what happens if they stop paying the premiums?
No, we're holding the bag.
Yeah, now, what's most likely going to happen is if they get to the point where they can't afford their liability insurance, they're probably also getting to the point where they can't afford to pay for their water. And if they're not paying for their water, they aren't getting more water. So those may come together at the same time, but I do not apologize for recommending things that I think the township needs to protect itself. We're doing them a favor, but we're not in the business of seeing how much we can expose ourselves without putting our village at risk. So I'll have more next month when we hear back from the engineer and the water administrator.
When ongoing problem, it shouldn't be. Not when we're trying to help solve,
Trying to help them solve their problems, and the losers are the people, the residents.
yeah.
And this big business is messing everybody up.
Well, I think they are forgetting, I mean, imagine if, we have some communities up here that are on the Detroit water system. Imagine if a user of that system, somebody who's getting water off a spike off of that system, says to the water authority, if you don't get your thing fixed within 24 hours, we get to go in and work on your pipes.
Yeah.
We get to go redo your water prevention valves. That it ain't gonna happen. And I don't see any.
They're just gonna continue billing you till you fix it.
They may have a remedy, but it's not gonna be, you just get to come in and sort of treat our system like it's yours.
Yep.
And, you know what happens. Water main breaks happen when you least want them. New Year's Eve, Christmas Day.
Weather like this, and the guys, they
weather
gotta
like
try to
this.
trust me, we
Bite
know
your
about
tongue.
that kind of work.
Yeah,
don't we, Lloyd?
and you got
When they're done.
the frost 5 feet in the ground. So in Michigan, you can't always assume you get immediate access. You can just dig it up really easy. This is brutal work when the weather's really, really bad.
Do we keep any parts on hand for repairing a main?
Yes and no. We keep some parts on hand, but as far as like a large main break, probably not.
Just a silly question.
Yeah. What are you planning? Don't think
There's
so.
I'll be out of water too.
Just like for a while, we always had
Like
an
grinder
extra
pump
backup
and stuff.
pump. I don't think we do have the spare anymore.
I don't know.
There's one that's been
Rebuilt and I think
rebuilt
that's out
and stuck in there,
Better
but
than not having it.
Right.
we've been
Rebuilt's
trying
better
to
than
keep something like that, so it's not a 2 or 3 day issue,
Right.
Exactly.
so.
Did you see any of the video of the water main breakdown in Macomb County? I mean, we're talking a 3 foot tall water main break that was shooting water way up to the yin yang, and immediately they're issuing boil water orders. This is
Anytime there's a drop in pressure on the system,
Yes.
they have to put out boil water orders.
Okay, new business, if you're all done. New business per Peter Curley.
Yeah, he is not present. He was gonna be here. He's the liaison at the Veterans Affairs. He just wanted to stop in. He's going around trying to hit all the meetings and called to verify we were having a meeting, even though it was Martin Luther King Day and our office was closed, but he's right here.
Okay.
Maybe next month.
Well, we got one more public time.
Speaking of water, I was gonna ask about this. Do we have a plan for if the contamination starts going this way? Because nobody knows, right? My sister is a geologist, one of them, so like I've talked about aquifers more than your average person. But keeping in mind that none of us are hydrogeologists or water engineers, that type of thing. But there's tens of thousands of barrels of contaminants, and we don't even know what all the contaminants are in there. And yes, the plumes right now are kind of going that way. Do we have a plan for when more barrels start to break?
they removed a bunch of barrels.
2 out of the 5 sites, they removed some barrels.
Lots.
So that's still tens of thousands.
A lot of them burned up and exploded too.
Mm-hmm.
Trust me, I was there
Yeah.
for that, trying to put it out. But
Yeah.
there's no way you can keep track of how many of them
Yeah.
burned.
It-
But there is still,
As you know, the plume, according to all the water hydrology reports, the plume is going in that direction.
Yeah, but that's
it
not,
always has.
for now, it's
Yeah.
going in that
If there's
direction.
one bit of good news, it is that if you look at the geography of the village, it's the landfill out there, and then between the landfill and most of the residential areas, it's essentially the sewer lagoon property. So
Yeah, but that's still not that far. We're talking feet. I'm just wondering if anybody's thought ahead to the future. Because I wouldn't be buying property here.
Unless you got, water being supplied by somebody else.
Well, because this just comes up for me as we talk about this, because in one of the meetings, it was held over Zoom, 3 years ago, and the residents there were talking here because they still hadn't gotten approval for the village, and I know this has been a long, drawn out thing, and you guys are trying to protect the village residents and the village system, but I was like, do they realize that we're next, right? I just, we should be thinking ahead to that. I keep it in mind, and it amazes me how many people live here and don't know that's there. Because, I grew up in Lapeer, and I was in junior high, when people started having rumors of cancer from that, and I guess that's still unproven, but, I think we should think ahead on that, because, we are next. Tina, I have John, I was going to give you this, because I filed this with the township. They put you back on the fire board again. I disagree that you should be in any position of public safety, based on things you've said in these meetings, which I lay out here. I get that you are well-intentioned, but you just don't have a grasp of basic things that people in public safety should know. So I just wanted you to have a
Now,
copy.
if you knew, I was even fire chief out there.
I do know, and I acknowledge that in there. I know you were great friends with
That's part of the reason they want to keep me on there.
Yeah, I get it, but I just think that you don't have the education level to be doing that. And I get that that's probably very offensive, but I do feel that. The other thing I want to talk about is when you do the police reports, Tina, when we don't have an officer here to do it. I've noticed this because I also go to the township meetings that sometimes Chief Mallett has read things that happened in the village that you don't feel the need to read. And I was wondering if you have criteria, or if it's just kind of like how you feel, or you don't want people to know maybe sometimes what goes on in the village.
I've literally never went over the stuff on the police report. I've always just said how many runs in the village.
No, you have sometimes, because you said, no ORV calls when I was talking about ORVs. You have actually brought up specifics.
Okay.
You have brought up specifics on many occasions. So I just think that maybe we should develop criteria. Because
I'll stick to not saying anything then. Thank you.
okay, so then it's up to us to just get it and read it. Because that matters, right? Like, our safety is kind of in your hands. And I learned this when I was 19 and I was in Lapeer. I used to walk on the linear trail out there by Roden Park. And I was a victim of a serial sexual assaulter. And unfortunately, it wasn't that serious, but it was a big deal. And it was a big deal. I saw another woman be assaulted there, too. The police there didn't put out any information until it was like the 5th or 6th assault. So it's like, at what point do you guys start releasing things? Just like there have been robberies in cars here that Chief Mallett has read in the township that haven't been read here. And I don't trust you on safety issues, right? So like, when are you gonna let us know? Because as you all know, because you all got the packet, on September 3rd, there was a rape reported in the village. And I get that we need to protect that person's privacy above all. But if you could have given any context for, is it something that we should be worried about? Do they have someone in custody? That kind of thing. Because I don't want to be the 6th, I don't want 6 people to be assaulted before the police release information. Because it really can change people's lives, what you choose to reveal and not reveal here. And that's why I will always be getting the police report. So I'll contact you about that in a little bit. Thank you.
Just to touch on that, there was a he said, she said, there was no criminal charges filed. Mallett got a hold of me right after it had happened, let me know that it was gonna be on our report and that there was nothing to worry about. So, he was supposed to have an officer here that night, but I think they were busy doing something to address it in case anybody did have questions about that report.
They can't always make it here if they're on a call or,
Well,
I
there's
remember
usually 2 or 3 officers at the Metamora
I
Township
do
meeting,
recall they
so.
were on
There was
a
one.
death that night, that's why they weren't here, but.
No, I'm just saying, I go to the Metamora Township meetings. There's always been 2 for the last few months, and sometimes there's a 3rd one. So if they wanted to arrange it, they could have arranged it.
Okay.
They could have been.
Nobody else here for public time, so I guess I'll entertain the last motion.
I'll make that motion.
Been moved and seconded to adjourn the meeting. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you, everybody for coming out on this very frigid night.